Welcome, everybody, to the Aliveness Habit, conversations with everyday masters of aliveness. And this series is all about exploring the full rapture of what it means to feel alive for each one of us. And I have a wonderful guest with me today, Dr. Anmar Salman. And Anmar is a family physician at the Novel Health in Ottawa, here in Ottawa in Canada. He's a firm believer in the collaborative approach to health, and he believes that mental health is really at the core, a foundation to physical health. And he's also a blogger and a menswear enthusiast. And he's got his own blog, Off the Cuff, and it's all about empowering men to feel confident in their appearance. And Anmar, welcome. It's a delight to have you here. It is an early Saturday morning. You got me out of bed for this interview. Thank you for getting me all spiffed up at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely, that's the best. I mean, yes, Saturday morning coffee, and I love Saturday mornings. They are so alive but relaxing as well. And
No,
so
you're right.
yeah,
I'm actually
I'm good with that.
I know I'm looking, I'm like, hey, this is a early Saturday morning. This is what it looks like. So
Yeah.
thank you for getting me up and ready. I'm so excited to chat with you today. And I'm gonna, kick off as I always do with this very curious question. What does aliveness mean to you?
Well, thank you, Alexandra. This is as I listen to you kind of introduce, like masters of aliveness, and I think, we try our best in our daily lives to be present and alive. So I'm far from being a master. I'm definitely a student and learn all the nuances of what being alive means. And I've been pondering, when I watch your show and your interviews and the different people that you have, and really what strikes me is I have my mantra, which is the three or the four C's, depending on how you see it. But usually I start my day with, if I am cool, calm, and collected, I am in control. And
Hmm.
so really, the essence of that is life and our day throws things at us, left, right, and center. And I find if I am cool, calm, and collected, really it just makes me feel present and it makes me feel in control as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. The three C's, cool, calm, and collected. Yeah, that's great. And how does style fit
Mhm.
that into that mantra for you?
And very importantly, I find, and I think, like as over the years, when we kind of develop our own style, we really find what is comfortable, but
Mm.
also what brings you alive. And you can tell, and you probably could relate to that when you're wearing a nice shoe or nice boots, even your walk, the way you're walking really is affected by that and just gives you that poise, gives you that kind of cool and calm and collected. So wearing something that is your signature, something that really makes you comfortable throughout the day, but also stands out, whether you are going to work or just going to a cafe to do your journaling or preparation for the day. Style influences how you show up. And this has kind of been my mission with off the cuff style. It's about, I always kind of my motto is I'm not prescribing. I am not preaching. I'm just empowering. The way I feel when I'm in a good suit
Yeah.
is 100%, and I think everyone should find that 100% feel.
Yeah. That's a really interesting, it's interesting because we talk about aliveness and we think, well, it's sort of this inside out experience. And
Hmm.
what you're suggesting is it's sort of like an outside in because what you wear is almost like a signpost for how to show up for yourself. And
Hmm.
and I really think that's very curious because, a lot of people they get up and they put on their sweats and they, you know, uh, put on their Lululemons or whatever, and they head out and they can spend their entire winters in that outfit. It becomes
Yeah.
a uniform. And I'm
Yes.
not sure we have that level of awareness built in that what we wear and how we show up is an expression of how alive we feel in our everyday lives.
Absolutely. And I think for men, we don't have a lot of garments or a lot of things that we can definitely, present and show. But for us, whether it's the suit, the nice tie, how you walk in, with that suit and tie. There's a story a while back. I was at a gala and, just going there and trying to meet people and network, and then met this gentleman who was just beautifully dressed in a really nice suit and just stood out. And like I just like approached and like, who are you? Tell me who you are. I'd love to meet you. And then we connected. So his name is Jalen. He's an architect. And I had him, I did a community talk with him in his office/cafe. Very interesting gentleman. And through that, you develop the connections, and that's what makes you alive. It's, the ability to connect. So for me, style is a way to connect with people.
Yes. 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 And I actually saw that online. You posted it online, and I was yeah, and I was quite intrigued by it as well. And I love this idea that the concept of self-expression.
Mhm.
Because I think aliveness, aliveness is really it's a very personal experience. It's something that we each get to cultivate for ourselves, and it's rooted in this authenticity, this self-expression. And what I love what you're suggesting is that we each get to decide and cultivate that for ourselves. And it doesn't matter if maybe it's a suit. Like for you, it's a suit and a beautiful, and you really feel alive in that. But maybe it's a different expression for other people.
100%, absolutely. It's the way that, yes, you are showing up authentically and you're feeling deep down you are alive. And whether, you're going to a yoga studio at 6 o'clock in the morning, or you're doing that workout, or you're just sitting at your favorite cafe, reading your newspaper. And for me, it's, showing up in that style, but also making that effort. It's where, I always say, each of us are unique and we are a piece of art. And so style is your daily art. It's,
Mhm.
just like the artwork that you have and your background. I think we can talk about it for hours, why you chose all of that artwork. And
Yeah,
so style is the same thing. It's a choice that you make to show up, to present yourself. And this is my authentic self.
yeah. That's beautiful. It reminds me, when my father was dying in the last week of his life. uh, I kind of knew that we were headed down this road. It was the first time that I had anyone close to me dying, so it was quite a space to inhabit for me. And I remember one of the things that I did maybe about 4 days before he passed was I put on a really beautiful outfit.
Mm.
And uh, my son was having a sports field day, and I signed up for it. And I showed up at this sports field day in this gala outfit. I mean, I had a beautiful dress on and a belt, and I had a thing, and I was on the field playing baseball with this beautiful outfit on. And it was the strangest thing, and my kids are like, "Oh my God, Mom, what are you doing?" But you know what I said that whole day? I said, uh, th what was it that my mantra was? Um, share show meet oh yes, I know, meet sorrow with beauty. Meet
Mm.
sorrow with beauty. And and it was a way for me, my outside appearance, how I showed up in my clothing and my style, was a way for me to wrap my arms around what was happening on the inside and say it's okay and it's beautiful. You're beautiful, what's happening is beautiful, and it's okay. So
Yes.
that really struck me because it was just clothing. It was
Mhm.
just, clothing. And I noticed I put a lot of color on. It was vibrant. I had a big blue thing on. I had a red belt. It was very vibrant, but it was my way, my expression. for what was happening in my life and the sorrow that I was feeling. So, I'm curious about that, how can style and this sort of expression of clothing support the more melancholic time
Hmm.
of life?
Hmm. Hmm. And so, as you're speaking this beautiful story, and definitely it was a monumental part of your life, losing your father, a loved one, but it really kind of strikes me two things. It's the memory that it invokes. You
Mm,
speak about it, even though it was a profound loss, but you speak about it with that kind of beauty, that acceptance that this is life. And I'm a subscriber to the Stoics, the philosophy, and so you really embody that amor fati. You are accepting your fate. This is happening, but you have accepted it with beauty, and you've left a good memory and a story to share.
mhm.
And so really, I think, how we use style is that memory that it invokes, and whether that memory is related to a garment as well, whether it's a beautiful scarf or that red belt that you wore on the baseball pitch, you're gonna look at it and you're gonna like, yeah, that was a nice memory. Or that beautiful tie that was gifted to you from your father. Or the pens. Like, if you see, for me, I always have pens. My signature pens are Parker pens, and
Mhm.
my father, I lost him 17 years ago, but he loved Parker pens, and he instilled in me that love of the brand. And so I I have a Parker pen everywhere around the house because it's just the memory. And so, but then it also becomes your signature style.
Yeah. And isn't that curious? Because, what comes up for me is also connection. Because
Mm,
so that Parker pen is very similar. And I think that I showed up in that way because my father was a very beautifully dressed man. And there was
mhm,
there was
yes.
a connection that I had with him in that moment that said, I'm honoring you
Mhm,
in a way that feels very connected, and
mhm,
there was a comfort in that for me.
mhm,
I think, um, you know, that felt very important for me in that moment. And so I'm really liking this idea that, through your Parker pen too, there's a connection, like there's a connection that we can cultivate in in all these small rituals and these small ways that we present ourselves, um and the ways that we hold things dear, the
mhm.
reverence that we can build in
Mhm.
our lives. So I really feel that that's very powerful. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I
So
think Alexander, I think
yeah,
Alexander, sorry to interrupt you. It's again, it's you develop those things that are really you're attached to, but invokes good memories. And when I've been kind of like pondering about your question, the aliveness, what does aliveness mean? And I think what it comes to mind is, we're always kind of like happy and alive, but it's not about that.
yeah,
It's about sitting in that memory,
yeah,
and with memory, yes, it is a loss of a father,
yes,
but you have a good memory. And so that's what I find
yeah,
profound. It makes you feel alive.
yes. There's the fullness of experience, right? It's like a fullness. It's like you're not just saying, okay, well, I'm just gonna sit in this and forget about
Mm,
this. It's like
mhm,
able to kind of sit in the fullness of all of it. And
mhm,
for me, when I think about that moment or that time where I had that beautiful dress on, and I was sitting in this very sort of, very difficult situation with my father passing, the memory that it evokes it's beautiful. There's a
yes.
beauty that's connected to it. And
Yes.
and it is, I genuinely believe it's because that last week of his life, I look at all the pictures, and every
Mhm,
single picture, I
mhm,
look beautiful. I show up and I I pay attention. I put, my face and my dress and my posture is tall. And it's like a dignity. There's a respect and a dignity and a beauty that I was embodying in this sacred space of death. And it was all through how I was showing up with
Yeah.
my, with what I was wearing and how I was presenting myself. And, so I believe that there's a lot there. And,
Hmm.
and I really appreciate that you are championing this and advocating, especially for men, because I think it's harder for men.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And,
Absolutely.
and I
Yes.
wonder, maybe you have some more thoughts around that, because I think it's a very different experience.
Yes, and I mean, in my work as a family doctor, I have the privilege, to be involved with a lot of people through patients and what they have in terms of their struggles. And what I found is a common theme, especially for men, is that kind of surrender sometimes of letting go of looking after yourself. And that's what really kind of like, gave me the impulse to look at my own health because I learned about that, but also to be able to kind of like share the learning with other men. And so a big part of it is how you show up, how you choose to show up. As you said, you can be having the worst time of your life, but how you choose to show up reflects on how you choose to present yourself. And so when it comes to mental health, physical well-being, how you choose to show up is really an embodiment. Yes, you might be feeling deep down sorrow or unhappiness, but that extra effort that you're going to put in the morning to show up is going to go a long way. And through style or through just your appearance, your signature appearance. And I could say, like at times at work, I could be having a bad day, but I choose to show up, and this is how you show up. So it really reflects on your mental, your physical health, of how we present ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to help men in terms of, yes, you can do a lot through your physical appearance, your physical health, looking after your exercise, developing a network of like-minded men who can help you and support you and make you feel alive as well.
Mm.
That is a big thing that I find men as well need. And so you find there's niches of kind of men's groups to support each other, but we've lost that camaraderie feeling. And so through kind of my off the cuff style is, in a way, I am building a network of like-minded men who I can help, but also help me as well.
Mhm. And what do you notice are some of the barriers?
Mm. A lot of barriers I find, definitely. I think as we get older, man, we sacrifice a lot of us to a family and children and raising a family and being a great parent and a good partner and a husband. But deep down, family and friends are going to look at you, and how you look after yourself is a big part. And so you're not being selfish when you're going to hit the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're not being selfish when you are looking good, because that is going to be a reflection of how you live. And so we always think of the sacrifice, that what we do is give our time and give our energy, but you can't give from an empty cup. And as a father, as a partner, as someone who has a healthcare business, I find that is a profound lesson that nobody really teaches you, is you got to have a full cup to be able to help each other and help those people, because they're going to look at you. And when we pass in our lives, and that impact that we have, as you had to your father, is, yes, he was a well-dressed man, and you tried to embody that through even the last week of his health. And so that is very important.
Yes. Yeah, it's so vital. It's so beautiful. And the dignity, the respect for self, the confidence, the reverence, and I think this word is just, it's such a beautiful word, reverence. We
Mm,
don't use it
mm,
enough, right?
true.
This reverence for self and reverence for the beauty that surrounds us consistently. And it's like, I mean, I don't know, you show up in a nice outfit, You know, we go to the NAC, to the art center, often, and I drag my family with me. I just book stuff. I'm like, we're going, you know,
Yeah.
and and I know why. It's an opportunity to get dressed up,
Yes.
look nice, put on a collared shirt, get a
Hmm.
pair of pants on that aren't,
Hmm.
all bunched up, and just put on a nice pair of shoes, put on a jacket,
Yeah.
and show up and sit and watch something of beauty.
Yes.
It's so
It
simple. And
is a
there's,
ritual.
yeah, it's so
Yeah.
simple. And yet it's something that we struggle to do.
Yes. And yeah, I'm still pondering why those rituals have. But I think, when you look at the family structure as well, in the 50s where, like people were having that Sunday dinner and
Mhm.
getting dressed or going to the church in the morning. And, part of that was the ritual, but also, as you said, the reverence, being able to, yes, I'm going to a nice place with a congregation and a community or family, and then you are showing up. You might be having a bad day, absolutely, but you choose to show up.
And after that, every
Yes,
time I go and I drag everybody with me,
so true.
and
Yeah,
they're all used to it now. They're like, okay, when is this going to be over? But
yeah,
every time, I'm telling you, every time, and I have 15 and 12-year-olds. I mean, it's a tough age to drag them to stuff like that. But their whole aura shifts. They
yeah.
feel different. They
Hmm.
feel fuller, richer.
Hmm.
I can tell that there was something of value that
Yeah.
that was that happened in that exchange. And it's in I make a point of doing that. And um and I will always do that, probably. And that was instilled from my own upbringing, right? We used to do that as a family a lot. So, and
Yeah.
it's felt so important, and there's a connection in that space. It's the
Hmm.
reverence. There's a connection that's built, that makes me personally feel alive. And I think it does for my children as well. You
Hmm.
listen to music, you watch things. There's a sensory experience also that's connected to feeling nice in your clothes, and you're watching something and you're feeling right. I mean, there's something that's that's really profound in that space of reverence. I think that I think we're losing, actually.
Yeah. That's a good lesson. I'm gonna think about it. I think I have 8 and 10 year olds, and yeah, I think I'm going to think about
You can
having
come with
that.
us.
Absolutely. I,
Start.
I think Alexandra, I think what you touched on as well is very important because there's a word in our vocabulary that we use very often right now is being busy. As
Mm,
it like we're busy, everyone's busy and we're doing all that. And I'm trying to remove that word from my use of vocabulary because what are we busy with? We're living life. It's happening in front of our eyes. And we can choose how our mindset is, how to be alive in that moment. And if you're choosing, I'm busy, you're not living. You're
yeah.
just basically going from A to B. Whereas, like, yes, I mean, you can create 2 hours time to go to the NAC and listen to music,
Hmm.
but that's going to have a profound impact on your outlook throughout the week.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it all comes down to choice. I get it all the time.
Mhm.
Alex, how do you have time? How do you make time? How are you, how are you going to the NAC? When do you have time? I said, well, I prioritize
Mhm.
it. Something I'm prioritizing. And I
Yeah. Instead of going to Costco or IKEA, I'm going to go to the NAC.
and it's not a big deal. It's just
Yeah.
you become and what you practice. So if you're practicing going to, shows and concerts, and that's what you value, and what you're prioritizing, uh, then
Yeah.
then you'll make time for it. So,
Absolutely.
right. So but I think the issue more, for people, is knowing what it is that they're valuing in the first place.
Yeah.
It's,
Yes.
I mean, that exploration is not really being had.
Hmm. Hmm.
always. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but if you ask somebody, what do you value? They're like they have to really think about that. It doesn't come naturally because they haven't really contemplated it.
Yes.
Don't know how to build their life around what they're actually valuing. So they just do everything.
It's that FOMO, it's that, I want to do everything. It's that kind of getting those short-term hits where, like you're enjoying, the scroll on your social media, and then 2 hours have gone by and you feel like, okay, well, what did I get out of this? And I think a lot of us are really scared to spend time with ourselves and really just reflect on that, because part of that is feeling alive. And I find sometimes a drive, just by myself and listening to like a podcast or an episode. And many times I have actually stopped on the side of the road and like, okay, I got to take notes because these are great ideas. And I
Mm,
find, in our busy lives as well, or, we feel we are productive, is we're not just taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture, feeling that aliveness of the new idea, of the new hit, or what is it that I like?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. It's so true. So what are some other things that what other habits and rituals have you cultivated in order to feel alive?
a a big part of it is really now it's about networks. It's about, and I mean, this is how we met, is through the connections and the networks and meeting people. After, I'm fairly new to Ottawa, I still say, and so I'm trying to build a community in Ottawa. And after the pandemic, 2 years we were isolated. I felt, okay, I needed to just go out and meet people and make Ottawa a community. And so part of it is really being engaged in networks of like-minded people. And my approach is, I used to kind of shy away or not create time for this, but my approach now is, if I'm going to go to an event, the minimum is I want to meet one new person
Mhm.
and learn one new idea.
Mm.
Usually I hit that quota within the first 15 minutes, and I end up with meeting so many people. But what I've called it now, it's the networking cascade, where you meet one person, they introduce you to another, and then they introduce you to another event, and then you go that, and I love that. I mean, that's how we met. We met through a mutual friend who I met through an event, and Larry kind of introduced me to that event that we met, and then you, and I've had other people. So that really helps me in my life, like, because I found that I'm an extrovert and it rejuvenates me. And always after an event, I feel high, after 2 to 3 days, because I guess I've made those great connections. I'm going to touch point with them. But also business wise, I'm in the healthcare arena. And so part of it is at Novel Health, we are a collaborative uh, base care, team. And so really the people that I meet help me do the work, whether it's the nutritionist, the dietitian, the meditation expert. We've done some great workshops, and we're still yet to do the workshop, you and I as well, but that helps the community. And so that is very important. So the networks are really, really important. And that is something that I cultivate, aliveness.
You know what? I just music to my ears. I just love this. When I met you, I was like, yes, yes, a doctor who gets it. Yes. It was just so exciting because this is where I think we move the needle, right?
Yes.
When we're all in synergy together and really utilizing the resources that
Mhm.
exist as one, as one movement. And I really appreciate that about you. So thank you for all the work that you do and all the support that you offer the community. It's really important, so thank you. uh,
Thank you.
what would you like to if you what would you like to leave our audience, anybody that's listening in today? What is one thing you'd like people to know about the experience of aliveness?
Take time to know what aliveness is to you. And so, we've talked about style, we've talked about stoicism, we've talked about exercise. And before we started the recording, we talked about Chelsea, and we talked about being outside. I think taking the time to find what makes you feel alive. And
Mm.
again, the aliveness, that I think, is like, oh, it's all about partying and feeling alive and fully. But no, maybe it is that meditation. Maybe it is that coffee in the morning, but also being mindful, being able to appreciate the simple things throughout the day.
Mm.
That is very important. And I find, again, in our connected, connected lives, is just feeling that aliveness, whether it's, and it will show. It will show in your posture, it will show on your physical health, it will show on how you walk, but it will also show on how you want people to see you.
Mm. Beautiful.
It's the energy. It's all about the energy.
Beautiful. Lovely. Beautiful, beautiful message. Thank you for that. So appreciate you. We are coming to the end of our time together. So I wanted to uh, thank you so much for being here. It's been a joy and a pleasure to talk to you today. And I will be seeing you out in the big world, no doubt.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you. The pleasure is all mine, Alexandra, and I'm really fortunate that our paths crossed.
Oh, I agree. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too.